strictly for the book. It's also for the management of that whole process, the infrastructure. But I was asking him, I said, so when somebody's cleaning the gym or changing out towels or landscaping in front, is that a separate element? And they said, no, that's actually part of the operation of the system. Right. But school bookstores are seen as outside, so that actually hits the students twice. One, they pay the fees to get into the school that worry about landscaping, but then they pay, again, students' fees tacked on top of the books to manage that. Is that the best way? Actually, so we're hitting the students twice in two different areas for a cost. Is that the most efficient way to be doing this from a activity-based costing standpoint?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I think there's no doubt that the cost of textbooks for students can be a barrier to access, and I think that we should be looking at ways of approaching the issue from a variety of approaches.
And the last thing is that when we're looking at textbooks, hopefully we're not just looking at the economics of them, but what we're looking at, because especially after the last report, that they're a critical component to the success of the students and their academics. You know, they got to be able to read and study and get prepared for the classes so they can pass the classes. But if some student is not able to do it because of economics, then, you know, that their ability to succeed is hampered. So I hope you look at it from the governor's, from the LAO's perspective, and try to solve this problem, because clearly, as shown earlier, you know, with only 40% of the kids on the remedial even having the skills to go forward, this may be a portion of the problem. And the LOA had some good ideas. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next item. Do you have any questions? No. Okay, gotcha. Okay, Innovation Awards.
Good morning, Brianna Brents, Department of Finance. The governor's budget proposes $25 million in Proposition 98 General Fund to fund the awards for innovation in higher education. There are several key differences between these awards and awards in previous years. There'll be a focus on partnerships, so money will be allocated directly to the community colleges while partnerships are encouraged. Also, there are 6 separate award categories for different types of innovation. There will be specific markers and requirements for each of the applications in the different categories. And also, the award money will serve primarily as an incentive rather than a prize. So we hope to encourage applicants to take and commit to new action rather than being awarded for action that they've taken in the past.
Okay.
Judy Hyman, Legislative Analyst Office. The current proposal addresses some of the critiques we've had of some of the earlier award proposals. However, we still recommend that you reject this proposal. The award amount, which is intended as an incentive, as Ms. Brunn mentioned, is unrelated to the cost of implementing any of these innovations. Just to give you one example, the award to create a series of online general education courses amounts to $300,000 per course to put a course online. And this is more than 10 times the amount for redesigning a course under the Zero Textbook Cost Degree initiative, the governor's proposal, and more than 50 times what we would recommend for that initiative. So it seems quite out of proportion. And more substantially, we think that providing these large awards to a handful of colleges to implement these local initiatives is unlikely to lead to significant statewide impact beyond the 6 colleges that win the awards. So we recommend that you reject this proposal.
Thank you. Chancellor's Office?
We think that the award program proposed for 16-17 has several advantages over the proposal that was funded in the 14-15 year. We appreciate the fact that it's more forward-looking in terms of providing kind of startup implementation funding for the new initiatives. So we think that's an improvement in the process. I think one area where we would agree with the LAO is that any time there's one-time funds that's not generalizable, it's only going to go to a few districts. There is the question in such a large system as to what overall impact the awards are having. So I think that's a discussion worth having.
Okay. Now, was this just kind of a balancer from finance that you saw? I know this has been a priority in years past for the administration, that we had some Prop 98 dollars available, and so this was kind of plug it in there based upon how much we had available?
No, I don't think this was a balancer in our opinion. We viewed it as an excellent opportunity to provide some resources to the system to develop and implement some really innovative practices that they can come up with at the local level.
Okay. And what's the end goal of this? Is it basic skills or other programs that they could focus on improving?
So
There's a variety, right?
There are a variety. There's 6 separate award categories. And so the intent would be to give an award in each of the categories to achieve various innovations.
So, but you could use it in, you have to be based upon one of those categories.
Yeah, so
Some are overarching, though.
that is true. So the in order to be selected as an award winner, you need to demonstrate the ability to achieve one of the markers within one of the 6 different categories.
Okay. You have a question? Yes, Ms. Kim.
Gosh, I think one of the things I would like to say before we even consider giving the awards is how would it have the statewide impact instead of just having one area? I guess that's really important to determine that and then make sure that it has overall statewide impact. That could be helpful to others as well.
Certainly, and I think you raise a very excellent point. In particular, what we expect is that these the districts that would receive these funds and receive an award, their programs would be posted on the Professional Learning Network, which is a component of the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative, and all districts and colleges throughout the state would have access to those innovative practices that those colleges are implementing.
Okay. Thank you. We'll hold this item open as well until after the May revision. Item 6. That was 5. Isn't it?
Keith Nizam, Department of Finance.
Okay, 5, yes. Deferred maintenance.
Yeah. The governor's budget proposes a one-time grant of $290 million for deferred maintenance and instructional equipment. This includes $34 million in prior year funding and $255 million in budget year funding dispersed to the districts based on proportional to their full-time equivalent counts. This funding pays for infrastructure costs as well as instructional equipment needs while hedging against an inevitable decline in available Proposition 98 resources in a down economy.
LAO?
And we agree with the administration's assessment that this addresses some very critical maintenance needs and also helps to provide a cushion against future revenue declines and could help to avoid some more painful cuts to ongoing programs if used in this way. So we recommend funding the maintenance backlog, but requiring that the Chancellor's Office report on what it would take to retire the backlog and to fund maintenance adequately on an ongoing basis. We also recommend that you consider authorizing colleges to spend up to $1.1 million of this large total toward updating their fusion facility inventory system, which helps them and us keep track of facility needs across community colleges in the state.
We're supportive of robust funding for deferred maintenance and instructional equipment. We've been fortunate enough to get some funds for that over the past 3 prior budgets, so we'd like to see that continued. We know that does help protect the significant state investment in our over 5,500 buildings that are in our system. We note that almost 50% of our buildings are 40 years old or older, so maintenance is an extremely important piece of our funding puzzle, so we are supportive of funding for that, not only one time, but in an ongoing manner.
Okay. Questions on this item? Ms. Irwin?
I just want to, so is the fusion system, you mentioned that the chancellor should come up with a backlog of maintenance projects. Is that what fusion is currently used for? Is it being used currently, the software?
It is. It's quite outdated. It's a project of the community colleges districts themselves. They pooled their funds to create it quite some time ago. And they do have a plan to update it, but to do that, they would forego an entire 4-year cycle of inspections of their buildings, which is the source information they use to feed the system, to use the funds, to divert the funds from those inspections over to updating the system. So to avoid losing data for 4 years, we would recommend allowing them on a one-time basis to use this $1 million for that purpose.
Is it a concrete estimate?
They were pretty firm about it, $1.1 million, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we have no trouble with that recommendation. I think we like the latter term better, allowance of using those
Right.
funds rather than a requirement. But I think we're okay with that proposal.
Okay, thank you. Again, we'll hold this issue open until the May revision. You know, certainly we understand the idea about this and the need and not wanting to focus on ongoing expenditures, but as we'll hear in our public comment a little bit, there's quite a few other issues that we'd like to see addressed that haven't been addressed since the Great Recession.
Yeah,
and so potentially look at altering the allocation somewhat.
Yeah, I would say, Mr. Chair, and I think I addressed some of this in our overview hearing earlier in the cycle, but there certainly are some priority needs of the system that we would like to see addressed, and that includes an increase in base funding for the systems to help handle the STRS and PERS costs that are coming up. We'd also like to see an increase of funding for more full-time faculty hiring. Having said all that, it may be possible at May revision that there'll be additional resources available to help address those needs, so we'll wait for that time to make a call
Perfect.
on it.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
Keith Nizam, Department of Finance. The governor's budget includes an increase of $10 million for the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative to provide additional professional development and technical assistance in a variety of programmatic, administrative, and academic areas to help increase the potential for student success and improve the effectiveness of college operations.
Aleo?
And we have found that demand for these services is quite high among the colleges, so we think it's worth considering this proposal, but we would just caution you to ensure that the program, which already has been growing very quickly, doesn't outpace the capacity of colleges to absorb this amount of professional development and technical assistance.
Okay. Community colleges?
Yes, we're very supportive of the increase. We note that to date that 46 institutions have received partnership resource teams. So that's a team of experts that have been invited by the colleges to come and address specific issues at the campus and help hopefully come up with brainstorm ideas for resolution of issues. We think this is a very unique project in state government where we have proactive technical assistance being provided to districts, and it kind of helps transform the role of our office, I think, to the system, to moving from one of compliance and monitoring and slapping the hand when districts do something wrong to providing the kind of forward-thinking, progressive technical assistance, and that's represents the kind of direction we'd like to move into.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? All right. This will hold open as well. Last item.
Keith Nizam, Department of Finance. The governor's budget includes an increase of $3 million in the telecommunications and technology infrastructure program to address a system-wide data security effort for an increasingly data-reliant system that some districts feel are not adequately safeguarded.
LAO?
And we think that community colleges have been increasing their use of technology both locally and through some of the statewide technology initiatives that you have approved. So it would make sense to increase data security accordingly. The Chancellor's Office has presented a reasonable plan for how they would use these funds, and we recommend that you approve the governor's proposal.
Obviously, we're supportive of this funding. We requested it in our system budget request. It's a relatively minor amount of funds, I think, available that would help our office protect the incredible amounts of data that is flowing around the system right now, both at the campus level and concentrated at the Chancellor's Office as well. So this funding would allow us to, we could add that into the comprehensive IT grant that we post periodically, and this would help districts help promote the data security plans that our offices come up with, and assist districts as they identify security breaches at their campus as well. So we're supportive of the funding.
Okay. Ms. Irwin?
Yeah, could you go a little bit more into depth about this funding? Because one of the problems I see here is that most colleges don't have a staff member dedicated to IT. So are you coming up with a system-wide solution, and you're going to help all the colleges individually? Isn't there really a need to have an IT person on each of the campuses?
Well, you're correct that we actually did a survey not too long ago that found that even with all this data that's floating around our system right now, that many colleges do not have dedicated data security staff. They simply do not have the resources and or have not made that a clear priority to find staffing for that position. So I don't think it's the intent of this funding to literally fund that data security specialist at a campus. I think it's more for a centralized manner to help shield the system from some of the more broad and pressing problems that are out there, and to provide some resources when certain issues do crop up.
So all the campuses are using a centralized system?
The centralized IT suite of services that we do provide right now, it's at the Butte College has a contract to provide a variety of centralized tech programs for our system. That this $3 million would help support the data security strength of that network. So it's not our proposal that at this time that this would answer every question that this issue can imagine, but I think $3 million would be a good start.
All right, thank you.
Okay. No questions, Assembly Member? Okay.
May I just expand on that question raised by Ms. Irwin? If the ongoing funding is to staff the technical support personnel at colleges, and the importance of the data security on the campuses is so great, I think that wouldn't you consider making that a priority and have each college prioritize within your core, funding purposes in your budget?
Yeah, I think probably how we have worked best with our colleges is rather than requirement, we've done better with incentives. So I think in terms of this contract, what would be contemplated would be something along the lines of, in order to access and benefit from these centralized services, which do on the whole save districts money and provide better services for their students, that there would be certain requirements put in place. So I think that kind of incentive structure would work better. It would be to their benefit to improve their local data security and utilize the state plans and recommendations that have been made in that regard in order to access the funds.
So the recommended funding request is for the system-wide.
Correct.
And then each campuses will hopefully work in connection.
That's right. It would be to their benefit to adjust their local priorities and spending in order to access the full benefit of the statewide centralized IT plans.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll hold this item open as well. And I guess with all of these, they all, in a nutshell, kind of look okay, depending on where we're at in the May revision. If by some chance we have more Prop 98 money available for the community colleges, we'll look at some of these other issues. But if we say the same, we may go back and look at some of these and look at our overall priorities that we have outlined this year. So with that, we'll now hear from our public comment. You can line up in the middle, and please try to keep your comments to 2 minutes or less. 2 minutes or less.
All right, I'll go first. Hello, my name is Dean Murakami. I'm representing the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. And while we support the budget in its overall concept, we have certain priorities that we would like to also see. One of them is to...
Can I have everybody in the audience please quiet down a bit? We can't hear the speaker. Thank you.
One of them is to increase the base. Increasing the base provides all the colleges the maximum amount of flexibility in how to use the funds to meet their budgetary needs. We also would like to see an expansion of the full-time faculty budget hires. We think that that's a place where we still need to grow and is inadequately supported. The other areas include part-time office hours, health care, and pay equity. We think that those are important categorical programs that have been cut and have never been augmented in many, many, many years. The last thing I'd like to say is that we really, truly, if we want to see student success, we really need to truly fully fund student support services. You can't expect success if you're not funding those services. EOP&S, DSP&S, CalWorks, they're critical programs to the success of so many of our students. I've noticed we see a lot of people from the Puente Project. We have faculty and students here. Okay, students understand how important this program is to their success, and that's why they're here today. And if you want success, we need to have these programs fully funded. The recession really, truly devastated these programs. You cut those budgets in half, and our faculty, our counseling faculty, truly understand the negative impact, the devastating impact that has had on the success of our students. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Budget Committee members. My name is Julia Vergara, and this is Jane Oslop, and we're actually the co-executive directors for the Puente Project. And we want to thank you for this opportunity this morning. We're here actually to ask for an augmentation in our funding. On average, Puente directly serves over 17,000 students every year, and 40 of those through our professional development program. As you know, our mission is to help students not only transfer but complete their degrees and come back to the community as leaders and mentors. In this day and age of equity, Puente is a program that has actually always addressed equity issues. Furthermore, it's been a role model for other programs such as Learning Communities, Emoja, and First Year Experience. It is a program that has had a tremendous amount of success with first-generation students, low-income students, and has worked in partnership with community colleges for over 35 years. Just so you know, currently we're at 72 community colleges, we have 35 high schools, and we are actually piloting programs at 3 middle school programs.
Thank you. Is there an amount that you're requesting?
Yes, $1 million.
Okay.
Good morning, Chair, Assembly Committee members. Julia and I became the co-executive directors of the Puente Project last summer. We know this program very, very well. Our plan is to grow the program. To do that, we've created a 3-year strategic plan that will impact over 100,000 students by scaling up and diversifying the program's delivery. This new direction requires new funding, with which we will expand Puente's success footprint in California and serve more underrepresented students through the approaches and supports that have made Puente successful, statewide, and so much in demand. We've outlined each of the initiatives in our proposal and estimated the costs of each, and we're about to hand those over.
I think in closing, one of the things I really want to add is that Puente has always aligned itself, I think, with what's going on in community college. So as you talked this earlier today about multiple measures, we're actually piloting some programs that address the multiple measures that are happening on campus. For example, we have 3 programs that are starting a new transition point where students will enter at the transfer level class. In addition to that, we've created a high school to community college pipeline, and we're also in the process of creating a STEM pathway because we know that a lot of our students enter as STEM majors, but something happens either at the community college or at 4-year institutions where they switch those majors. So we see a big need in creating a STEM pathway that aligns with some of the things that is happening at community college. So we actually really urge you to help us with this augmentation. We are looking forward to serving more students in California and hopefully one day being at every single community college.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Addie Myers on behalf of the California Association of College Stores. We'd like to request specifically in the zero textbook cost degree program that college stores be included as stakeholders in the multi-member team approach. We think that store operators can offer a valuable insight and guidance in the development of any program that relates to the delivery of course material, specifically because stores are already required under federal law to provide required materials and relevant information about those materials to students, whether that material is digital or free. Stores are very committed to textbook affordability, and we would look forward to working with the committee as this proposal moves forward. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Whalen, and I come from Columbia College up in Sonora, California. I run a small college bookstore. And again, I am also representative of the California Association of College Stores. First, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to come here and speak to you today. And I'd like to thank Assemblymember Chavez for raising the issue of overhead costs and how they do affect the price of textbooks. And while the California Association of College Stores does support OER development, and we are in very much support of anything that makes course materials more affordable to students, we recognize that traditional textbooks are still a preferred method of course material by students. I know this because I've talked to different bookstore managers, excuse me, and even though an OER book might be available online, they will still sell out of the very low-cost printed version, mainly because students don't mind paying a little as long as there's a good perceived value and people like a book in their hands. So we would also like to work with the committee to develop more or different initiative approaches that address the high cost of traditional materials. Thank you very much for your time.
Honorable Committee, my name is John Smith. I'm a professor of mathematics at Santiago Community College down in Orange County, and also I have the honor to serve as Vice President of the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. I know that there is a temptation to wait on the budget matters until the May revise gives us a clearer view of what our income will be in the state and therefore our share under Prop 98. But I'd also ask the committee to consider what the governor has proposed in the deferred maintenance area of the programming. He's putting an awful lot of ongoing funds in for deferred maintenance. And while this is a noble idea, what that's really doing or sending the message to your colleges is that the budget is concerned about future students and not about the students that we're trying to serve now. There has not been an increase in part-time faculty office hours, for instance, in fair and equity pay, and 44% of the classes taught in the community colleges are taught by our part-time faculty. Many of our returning veterans who come to school at night often see a part-time teacher, who they don't know is part-time, as their first college class presenter. And without office hours for those people, without the services for our veterans, which are just becoming overwhelming to the people that we have there, we're concerned that there is not enough present money going towards both full-time faculty and part-time faculty, especially in terms of office hours. Lastly, I'd like to say that the commitment for full-time faculty has often not included an adequate number of full-time counselors. And again, one of the places that our students who are in such need see an entry into college is through a part-time counselor who may not have the training and the background to view what's going on in colleges. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Brent Riffle. I'm professor of history at College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita, California. I'm also our campus coordinator for our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, where we work in professional development and train our faculty, adjunct, and full-time in best practices and teaching technologies. I'm here to briefly share with you some data in terms of the zero-cost textbook bill and express our support for that. Our surveys on campus indicate that 64% of our faculty, and we have about 200 full-time and about 600 adjunct faculty, 64% of them express an interest in developing and working with OER, open educational resources, and 88% of them are willing to get training on that. So that tells us there's a lot of demand. But I think more importantly, in terms of our students, What our students are telling us is that the number one barrier to their success and their enrollment on our campus is the cost of textbooks. And so 75% of our students have indicated that that's a problem that they foresee. On our campus right now, this semester, we are offering 80 courses, 80 sections of completely open educational resources. Over the course of a full year, we could save our students $750,000. Every dollar that our students save is another class that they can enroll in, and we think that leads to greater success. We think that leads to greater completion, and we feel that support from the state would allow us to ramp up our efforts and really expand this across the campus. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Professor Catherine Coleman, also from College of the Canyons in the Sociology Department. I wanted to share some things that my students have shared with me. Isaac Chung, 21 years old, working on his degree in sociology, says OER textbooks would allow me to focus on school rather than on working to pay for school. Angela Porcher, an ex-gang member, corrected offender, and recent re-entry student at the age of 46, earning her degree in psychology, says, the OER textbook in my sociology class was the first college text I was able to own, as opposed to borrowing or renting. Nancy, a reentry student at 65, earning her degree in social work, says OER textbooks would allow me to take more than one class per semester, as I have to plan financially down to the penny how much materials for each class cost. Brandon Mackles, a first-generation college student in his family, says free textbooks would help him lower his credit card debt. He is still paying off his textbooks from last year. We offer 140 class sessions each year with 4 full-time faculty and 29 adjuncts, helping 88% of our students complete their 3,500 courses last year alone. Each year, 50 or 60 of our students successfully transfer. We have developed a business plan to create a ZTC in the college at COC, in the college's Leadership Education and Action program. In all of my classes, I've been using OER since 2010. We've been developing OER textbooks since as far back as 2008, before I was even aware of the acronym OER. The sociology department, by using open textbooks, have saved students $250,000 per year in our division alone. We will help lower the cost of education for our students, allow students to take and complete more classes each semester due to lowering the cost of materials needed, allowing them to graduate sooner. We support the expansion of the associate degree for transfer with OER. We have developed an ADT pathway in sociology, and we want our students to succeed.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Moy Berenbaum, and I teach astronomy at Santiago Canyon College. From 2008 to 2012, I was president of the Santiago Canyon College Academic Senate. During my tenure, California and the rest of the country experienced the worst economic collapse since the Great Depression. I witnessed my district's budget severely cut because of various restrictions, including workload measure reductions, which simply put, it means that my district and other districts across California were told that the state would pay for fewer students than the previous year, something that was labeled negative growth. As a result, thousands of students were denied access to community colleges. Because of the reduction in students served, as well as other cuts experienced during the Great Recession, community colleges lost 16.3% of their purchasing power, an amount that should be considered part of the state's wall of debt. However, because of the countercyclical nature of community colleges, an improved economy doesn't mean that the students return. While the administration is proposed a modest increase, many colleges are struggling to match that. So while colleges are finding it difficult to reach their previous funding levels, they are forced to absorb increasing retirement costs and must plan for the imposition of the so-called Cadillac tax at some point in the future, as well as other increased costs. So while I thank the legislature and the governor for the support of community colleges, I respectfully request that the legislature focus on the stability of community colleges be a priority for this in future budgets. For example, there is a proposed $280 million in one-time funding for deferred maintenance. However, as $255 million is from ongoing sources, it would be helpful to the colleges if a portion of the funds were appropriated to the district's base funding so that the college districts could allocate that funding to meet their own needs. Members, community colleges provide economical access to higher education for millions of Californians. While we appreciate that support that the legislature has given community colleges in the past budget issues and the current budgetary climate means that many community college districts are struggling with increased costs with little to no growth. Please help California community colleges to stabilize their budgets.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Isaac Castillo. I come from East Los Angeles. I'm speaking on behalf of Puente. So So basically, Puente for me, like many success stories, allowed me to see past the monumental barrier that the streets of East Los Angeles are for many students. I speak as a low income and first generation college student, and so for many, it doesn't allow me to see past the streets of Los Angeles. So now coming here as a first-generation college student, now I'm a student at University of California, Berkeley as a rhetoric major. So coming from a high school where the API was in the low 500s, the Puente project introduced me to academic excellence and success. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, Jeff Frost, representing the American Association of Publishers. We're here to talk about the Open Educational Resources zero-cost textbook. We did send a letter to the committee as well as finance. We wanted to raise three specific issues. One is, and the LAO mentioned this, complying with copyright requirements. The second is accessibility for special needs students. Blind, disabled, other issues, the materials should encompass those things. And the third is, should faculty choose this option, the use of digital platforms to enhance the OER materials. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members. Mark McDonald, McCallum Group, on behalf of a number of local community college districts, including San Diego, Los Rios, Peralta, San Francisco. Just 3 points. Number one, we would encourage you to add a base allocation for the community colleges. We have, unlike K-12, community colleges are not made whole. We have years where we did not receive a COLA, and we have operating deficits from that. We also are anticipating tremendous increases in CalPERS and CalSTRS costs. The other thing is that the base increase could hurt or could help with the growth allocation. I think it's important to make sure that we're able to fund every student that could go to a community college. The base allocation would help with outreach there. On the basic skills, we appreciate the strong investment in basic skills last year. It was one time. We appreciate looking at it as an ongoing source and that it's not a grant program now. All colleges experience basic skills issues, so all colleges should have access to that funding. We would also say that this should not be performance-based funding. This is the last group of students that we want to put performance-based funding on. This is the most difficult population to serve. So we would ask that you do not move in that direction. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Amy Miles, and I'm a City College of San Francisco Puentista. I'm here to tell you why Puente works. Puente works because the program has integrity. The founders, Felix Galaviz and Pat McGrath, saw what students needed, an academic familia, and created a program that addressed that need. 35 years later, that core tenet of familia is still what makes Puente work. I'm grateful for Puente. It allows me to connect with my students on a human level. As an instructor, I know my students. For example, I know Maria is absent because she has to take care of her two young sisters. I know Gabe graduated from high school with a 1.1 GPA and has dropped out of college twice before. I know these important tidbits because Puente cultivates and honors the human story. We, my Puente colleague and counselor Gregoria Cahill and I, build an environment that welcomes students as they are into the academic environment. We let them know that despite their personal struggles, they belong in higher education. In our year-long cohort, students learn to leverage these human stories to propel them into academic success, that their voices, their perspectives matter, and they deserve to be heard. Today, I'm so proud that 6 of my Puentistas, Dinora, Sonia, Naning, Matisha, Catherine, and Madeline, are here so that their stories can be heard. I'm proud that my 9-year-old daughter, Courtney, is here to listen to them. And here is my story. Before Puente, I would have assumed that Maria and Gabe didn't care about class when they didn't show up or turn in their assignments. What Puente has taught me is that students' lives matter, that what they bring into the classroom is just as important, perhaps even more so, than the content of the class. That engaging with students on a human level, sitting next to them on buses, at subcommittee meetings, setting up an event, going on a mural walk with my 2 young children and husband, builds bridges of trust. With an environment built on trust and familia, our students are willing to take risks like applying for scholarships and believing they can transfer to the UC system.
I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rona Sheriff. I'm co-director of the California EDGE Coalition. It's a coalition of business, labor, and social justice organizations. Our focus is on preparing people for middle-skilled jobs, jobs that require some post-secondary education, but not necessarily 4 years of college. We think basic skills is the major barrier for these students towards success. We are really grateful for the work of Assemblywoman Irwin last year and the administration in putting one-time funding into transforming the basic skills practices at colleges. We fully support ongoing funding, and we want that funding to be targeted to the kinds of high-impact, evidence-based practices that really do yield success for these students. Thank you.
Thank you.